Next on ABC7's Good Morning El Paso Weekend. A crash involving a motorcycle leaves at least one dead, second deadly accident within 12 hours. The latest from our round-the-clock news crews. And a tragedy in Central Texas, now one of the worst accidents of its kind in U.S. history. With more reaction from witnesses on the scene. And though the temperatures may be a bit more bearable for the coming week, officials still urging everyone to take the heat very seriously. Storm Track weather, Steven.
Rain chances are back in the forecast. It's going to be an unsettled week here in the borderland. I'll have the details.
This is all the news you need to start your Sunday, July 31st. ABC7's Good Morning El Paso Weekend starts right now.
Live, where news comes first. From the Mesilla Valley and Las Cruces to El Paso and the borderland. This is ABC7's Good Morning El Paso Weekend.
Well, good morning, El Paso, and thank you for joining us. I'm Andrew J. Polk. Starting with breaking news this morning, police say one person is dead in a crash involving a motorcycle overnight. Happened just after midnight at the intersection of Spur 1966 and West Paisano Drive. That's right next to UTEP. This is video from our round-the-clock news crew. Police have not said what caused the crash, but Paisano is now back open to incoming traffic. We're also still working to find out the cause of another deadly motorcycle crash, this time in El Paso's Lower Valley. Police say this one happened around 3 Saturday afternoon on the 1200 block of Loma Land. Our crews were there. Special traffic investigators blocked off that road. Police say the motorcycle and another vehicle crashed. Our crews also caught a Sun Metro bus stopped at the intersection, but it's not clear whether or not it was involved. The motorcyclist was taken to a local hospital where he died of his injuries. Police have not yet identified the motorcyclist, and it's unclear who was at fault. As soon as we get any more information, we'll update you on air and online at KVIA.com about both of these accidents involving motorcycles. To other breaking news this morning, a suspect is now in custody and another is being sought after 2 separate incidents of shooting in downtown Austin. Police received multiple calls of shots fired just after 2:15 this morning. A woman was killed and 4 other women were injured. Police say the shooter fired into a crowd of people. Police are looking for that person now. The second shooting happening in a parking garage when a man fired off shots during an aggravated assault. People nearby disarmed him and then held him for police. Although early reports indicated that all of this was an active shooter situation, Austin's police chief has said that these 2 incidents were separate and not related. And some more breaking news back here in El Paso. That major I10 closure that was scheduled for this morning is now being delayed until next week. This is a live look at I10 and Sunland Park. The closure was supposed to be along I10 West between the Sunland Park entrance and overpass, along with lane closures on I10 East. TxDOT says officers were unable to assist in the closure. So according to the Go 10 El Paso Facebook page, the closure is now being rescheduled for next week. So getting to our Storm Track weather now, let's get your first forecast with Storm Track meteorologist Stephen Decatur. Good morning, Stephen.
Good morning, Andrew. Temperatures starting off very mild once again, but we're not going to rise quite as warm as what we saw yesterday afternoon. Las Cruces currently 78 degrees. Plenty of sunshine around. Clouds will develop this afternoon, though, as rain chances will be on the increase. As we head throughout the day, we do have about a 10% chance of rain today. So not that great of a chance, but those chances increase as we head through the week. Here's a look at those current temperatures in the Lower Valley. You can see Montwood High School already at 80 degrees. Same with Valley View. And again, these temperatures are going to continue to rise today, but not quite as warm as what we saw yesterday. So here's a look at that day planner. 95 degrees this afternoon. Again, a 10% chance of rain. Some clouds developing this afternoon, too, as those showers and thunderstorms pop. So just keep an eye on the sky as you head out and about today. Andrew?
All right, thanks, Stephen. Check back in just a bit. Meantime, though, from our round-the-clock news team, an 18-wheeler crashed into the Hoover building in West El Paso. This happened around 11:30 last night. There was heavy damage to the building, but police tell us there were no major injuries or anyone killed. And officials say it's the worst air balloon accident in the nation's history. 16 people died yesterday morning in Central Texas after a hot air balloon caught fire. It plunged into this empty field about 30 miles outside of Austin. Officials say the balloon slammed into the ground, killing everyone on board. 2 sources say the balloon may have hit power lines before the crash. An official in the investigation says the balloon belonged to the company called Heart of Texas Hot Air Balloon Rides. It provides a balloon ride at the cost of about $400 per passenger. One witness described what the scene looked like at the moment of the crash.
First I heard a whoosh, like a whooshing sound, and then it just a big ball of fire up, and I'd say it probably got up as high as those lower electric lines.
The FAA and the NTSB are investigating the incident. Officials say it will take several days to collect evidence and interview witnesses, and investigators will need at least another week after that to release their preliminary reports. It's been a brutal summer in the borderland as we've seen more than 30 days of triple-digit temperatures. The City County Health Authority will be issuing a heat emergency after the high temperatures have led to several heat-related deaths. The city's Extreme Weather Task Force will be reminding the public about safety measures in a news conference on Monday. And ABC 7's Jerry Nahara has more on this story.
4 heat-related deaths have happened this summer so far. The City and County Health Authority wants to remind everyone these temperatures can be life-threatening. Saturday evening, Borderland residents stepped out to enjoy some cool weather and a game of ping pong. But El Pasoans won't hesitate to tell everyone how hot the recent weeks have been.
It's been increasingly hot.
Very hot.
Extremely. Hotter than I probably remembered.
Hot. Melting hot.
The region has experienced 34 days of triple-digit temperatures this summer so far. The Extreme Weather Task Force will be declaring the heat emergency on Monday. Officials with the task force say they have been consulting with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and concluded this is an emergency situation.
Where I work, it's about 112.
El Pasoans like Carlos Rivas say they have their own methods for keeping cool.
A little cold drink.
Go to a friend's pool.
Get a water bottle.
While many of us don't have the luxury of frolicking in a splash pad, the El Paso City County Health Authority recommends drinking more fluids, even if you're not thirsty, and regardless of your activity level. Find shade in extreme heat, and if needed, seek a heat shelter, like a library or a mall. They also recommend doing what Kenneth Latimer does.
My main way to stay cool is to stay in the house.
Again, it's very important to stay hydrated, stay indoors in the afternoon hours, and also frequently check on the elderly, children, and those who have mental illness. I'm Jerry Nahara with ABC 7.
And speaking of weather, tomorrow will mark 10 years since the borderland experienced the devastating flooding of Storm 2006. ABC 7 provided an unprecedented 13 consecutive hours of live storm coverage. Days of rain flooded the region and caused mass destruction from southern New Mexico to San Elizario. Some people lost everything. Our anchor Estela Casa and former anchor Gary Warner were live from the anchor desk for about 10 hours. The two reunited this week to talk about Storm 2006.
Some of our reporters were able to help people out and get them out of the water and get them out of a bind.
And some of those incidences of helping people didn't get on the air. They just happen because reporters are human beings. They see someone in need and they help. And that's what it takes.
And join us for ABC 7 Extra tonight. El Paso Water Vice President Alan Schubert and National Weather Service meteorologist Greg Luden will join Stephanie Guadian. We'll be talking about the uniqueness of the storm, its impact, and what El Paso is doing with your stormwater fees to solve problems the storm exposed. Make sure to tune in at 10:35 right after our 10 o'clock newscast. And ABC 7 is giving you a virtual tour of all the damage the borderland saw during Storm 2006. Just go to KVIA.com and click on the banner at the top of our homepage. You can click on the different parts of town and watch some of our coverage of Storm 2006. This past year, Sheriff Richard Wiles began shifting 24 positions away from detention officers to civilians in order to save as much as $500,000 a year. But an arbitrator ruled that Wiles cannot assign civilians to those certain jobs. But despite the setback, Wiles is moving forward with a plan to get body cameras and tasers originally supported by those savings.
We certainly knew that arbitration was pending, and we had what we felt was a backup plan to cover the year 3, 4, and 5. And so if you look at our budget, because of some changes we made on the 12-hour shifts, we had some supervisor positions that we have not filled for over 2 years.
Wiles says that the savings already realized from the civilianization of some of the processing positions at the El Paso County Jail, it will now take eliminating a couple of supervisor positions that had been unfilled for years and not part of the ruling to fund the rest of the 5-year data storage contract that comes along with the body camera and taser deal. But commissioners did have questions about new hiring. Wiles said he would need to cover more federal inmates at the jail.
I know they're budgeted, and it's, your purview, and you run your department how you see fit, but just while we're still evaluating this and have not made a decision yet, if you would just consider waiting just a little bit.
Wiles has argued that the cost of housing the federal inmates is offset by the funding that does come with them. Still, the vote came down 3-2 for the funding change, with Commissioners Perez and Stout voting against.
When you're sitting in those chairs and you're dealing with budgets and money, you have to be very cautious. So I certainly can be understanding about why some may be hesitant. But in fact, my contention is that the funding is there, and we will not be coming back asking for more funds to cover year 3, 4, and 5 because the funding is already in place in the budget.
The sheriff's opponent in this upcoming election, Tom Bacino, told ABC7 that he agreed with the arbitrator's decision, stating, quote, "I will not put a price tag on public safety." A huge delay and a huge inconvenience. Some filed out their mailbox keys, causing long lines at an East El Paso post office. The U.S. Postal Service spokesman says the post office has more than 500 residents requesting keys this summer, when normally they only receive several hundred. Hundreds of residents have been waiting months to get those keys, when it should only take no more than a week or 2 at the most.
It's a waste of my time. I have a family to support. I have a job to do. You can see they're already calling me. I'm sorry. And we have to come in here every other day. If I want my mail, I have to come every other day.
ABC7 is told the customers should have their keys now by next week. El Paso businessman Paul Foster is moving forward to restore one of downtown's historic landmarks. According to our news partners at the El Paso Inc., Paul Foster plans to restore the 19-story Plaza Hotel. The hotel has stood empty for decades now. Another change coming to downtown is the 170-year-old Abdu building. The owner, El Paso businessman Shiraz Baram, announced he is selling the building for $1.85 million. To read more on the changes happening in several downtown buildings, pick up your copy of the El Paso Inc. Other stories this week include what you can learn at a seminar about the business of medical marijuana in Texas, and meet the new hospital CEO who's into physician recruitment, construction, and drones. El Paso Inc. is online at elpasoinc.com and available for home and business delivery. Call the number there at the bottom of your screen, 534-4422, to subscribe. With the weather being so hot lately, here we have on Good Morning El Paso weekend. There's a new spot to cool off, now open for the summer. And later, major weather hitting the eastern seaboard, forcing first responders there to rescue many from rising floodwaters. It is 8:12 right now. Taking a live look at traffic this morning. This is where that closure was supposed to be this morning. I-10 and Sunland Park westbound lanes supposed to be shut off and eastbound lanes constrained, but as you can see, moving along just fine. That closure not happening this morning. Going to be rescheduled for next week. The Storm Track weather, Steven.
Some cooler weather is in the forecast as wet weather returns to the borderland. I'll have the details coming up.
You're watching ABC7, where news comes first.